Okay, so Pat likes this pizza.
I do.
And this pizza reminds me of like when you saw Sesame Street as a kid and you just see New York and you're like, damn, New York's kind of dirty. And you think that as a child. And then you see Oscar the Grouch come out of his trash can and like there's like the prop pizza in the trash can. Mm-hmm. This pizza is that pizza, dude.
Really?
Okay, it's not the worst pizza in the world. I've had way worse pizza. Airport pizza is... What is that airport pizza chain?
The one that's also in all the...
in the malls. They sell them by the slice with the Italy flag.
The Domino's mini airport pizza.
Hey, Dean.
You were getting
one
that?
thing at a time, all right?
Okay.
What is this pizza
what
that
is
sucks?
pizza?
Wait, are you about to hate on Sbarro?
Oh, dude, Sbarro tastes like cardboard. I can't...
Oh, my God.
Every time I've had Sbarro, I'm like, this is just cardboard with cheese on it.
Every child rememers having Sbarro in their local mall as a kid. And
when it was 75 cents a slice, great. That's what it's worth.
Yeah.
Bro, when you get that for like $4...
Don't ruin my memory right now.
When you get it for $4 in the airport and you're like, this tastes exactly like the box it's in. Like I legit like was eating it and I was like, just for science. And I licked the box. It was the same taste. The crust in the box tasted the same.
I think it's been sitting in that box for like a while.
Yeah. Or the base of that pizza is cardboard.
Yeah,
but anyways, all I said, the pizza that Pat likes is not as bad.
No, it's not.
I agree. Yeah,
it was
I agree.
pretty good.
I say it's not as bad. But here's my beef with it,
Is
bro.
it the price point that gets you?
I just think like when we look at Domino's and how good Domino's is and how good the deals are on Domino's.
Is it but are we talking money or flavor or both? Are we
both?
They're on a
both
indexing together.
Because
okay.
this. Well, let's think of a nickname so we don't actually get sued for defamation.
Yeah, Pete. Larry's Pizza.
Larry's portable pizza. Dude.
If we're thinking
they're delivery drivers, total pricks. Go eat my ass. 2, bro, I laid out such funny good jokes, and they just looked at me like, I don't know. Honestly, they looked at me like a child predator. I'll be honest. They gave me bad vibes. And
now
2,
you know how we feel.
And 2, they I think the white pizza is good.
Yep.
But not even remotely as good as just getting a white pizza made from like a place who like does it nationwide.
All right.
If we're talking cost to taste ratio,
dude, cheese filled crust Domino's, garlic butter rub crust Domino's, Domino's closer, Domino's
top
cheaper.
Tier is
I don't think Domino's is top tier, but
if we're
it's way better than Larry's portable pizza.
Ratio. All right, I'm thinking like if we're trying to be discreet about names here, like Rorino's Pizza from King Supers.
You don't have to be discreet about their names.
That's a brand. Like that's a chain.
We're just not trying to roast the local shop.
Yeah, we're not trying to.
Okay.
We want the local
Totino's
shop
Pizza from King Supers.
I love that. I'll eat that.
I hate that, dude. This
yeah.
Whatever that is that they try to sell
that
off as like
meat.
minced
dog meat on top, dude.
That's my childhood. That
Dude,
Canadian
you know what I think
bacon.
about?
That Canadian bacon.
I think about those like little pepperoni flecks, and I think about the time when I ate pizza and drank a glass of milk at a sleepover in elementary school, and when I threw up because I had a fever and stuff, I could still see the little red pepperoni chunks.
See, you complain about the Canadian bacon, but you'll eat bacon bits
I
all
love
day.
Canadian bacon.
You'll eat bacon bits all day.
Dean, your argument's not even valid because I love
It's
Canadian
Totino's,
bacon.
dude. It's fantastic.
I love Canadian
I'll
bacon.
fucking go to death, dude. I'll fucking go to death for
And
Totino's.
now they don't make them round anymore.
Stand down,
You know
son.
that? They make them rectangular so they fit perfectly in a
I'm
toaster oven. No,
I'm out.
no. It's perfect.
Totino's
shaped. Sorry, it's perfectly shaped for a toaster oven.
You know what?
Just saying.
I will say pizza
focus.
is better in the toaster oven than it is in the microwave. But we always put them in the oven.
Everything is better than in the microwave, dude. Name me one thing that tastes better in the microwave than it does stovetop or the oven. Will you beer me?
Hot dogs.
Hot dogs?
Just kidding.
Honestly, probably those like Kraft mac and cheese little
No way, dude.
bowls.
No way. There's
You
no
can't
way.
even cook those in the
There's
oven.
no difference
Yeah,
taste.
you can. You put them on the stove.
No, the little bowls. The
You
ones
put
that
it.
are
You can
the
put it.
microwavable
You just
bowls. You just throw that plastic on your stove.
no. You take the macaroni.
Oh my
out
god, bro!
and
You
put it
might
in
as well just have a regular box of Kraft at that point. There's no point in getting the little bowls.
Dean.
We've divulged.
Dean.
Because what?
Dean.
Oh,
Before we go back to Larry's portable pizza
Yeah.
versus Domino's, ramen. Is it better on the stove or in the microwave?
It's better on the stove.
Thank you. That's it. That's
It's actually better, just crunchy.
just straight.
It is better crunchy ramen cookies. Okay, Pat. Why are you so dedicated to this place, dude? They don't love you.
No.
They clearly hate you.
They hate Mick for sure. That child predator over there.
No. I'm saying they gave me child predator vibes. Like they were looking at me like I was the child.
I think I like their crust. I like a lot. I just like their pizza. It is expensive. I like it because it's
Is
local.
it expensive,
It's expensive.
bro?
You know.
Then why are we paying for that?
I know.
We like it's coming out of my bank account.
I'm a dedicated Carl's buyer. Dedicated for the rest of my life.
I'm actually. I hate to say it, but I'm coming around to Pat's side.
I'm sorry.
The amount of times I've had Carl's in the last year, like the frequency, is way more than I ever had in college. And I've noticed the frequency now of the quality is super low versus back in college. And you know what I think it is? I think they pre-make an insane amount of one-topping pizzas and just let them sit under a heat lamp or sit in a low-temp oven. Because I noticed their pizza quality is really high on anything that isn't one topping, like anything that is like custom ordered.
Yeah. I feel like that checks out.
But when they do like the bulk stuff of like, give me 4 pepperonis, 4 cream cheeses, and 4 sausages, dude, it always comes so dried out.
Is that eating in or
no
delivery?
That's delivery.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's actually pickup.
My first experience with Carl's was 12 years ago, 13 years ago. So it was a long time ago.
I love Carl's so much.
And this was back when they were just one location, and they literally had the seating in there they hadn't expanded yet, so they just had 3 booths basically to sit in.
Yep.
And that was it.
What used to be there before they expanded?
A dojo.
Oh, gotcha.
For karate.
The summer I came up to do my orientation at CSU was when Carl's had just expanded but was still rebuilding. Like it was still being built out, but it was like, one dude at kind of a counter while drywall wasn't even assembled up. You could see all the ovens in the back. He's like, "What can I get you?" I'm like, "This place is gonna burn down."
It was wild.
But it was great, dude.
And so back then, it was so good. It was so good for a long time. I think it's still good. It's still very good. But I think as they expanded, they just started using cheaper ingredients too. There was something in there when they started expanding, like something they started putting in there it's just not the same as what it once was. I still love it. And also I've held this belief since the beginning of Carl's too, was their specialty pizzas are where it's at. Like the one topping pizzas, most every other pizza shop in town wins over them on a one topping.
But you get that north of the border.
But the specialty pizza. Oh yeah. Anyway,
I get crispy chicken on my pizza at Crazy K's every time.
Yeah.
But this pizza, this collab pizza, was Nashville hot chicken, green chilies.
Oh, it's good.
Spicy ranch base, and cream cheese. And I can handle decently hot things. I even ate it just fine. But at the time, our local trainer at this coffee shop, he and I went there, ate it together. It was our first time and only time ever having it. The next day at work, he comes through the drive-thru, and I had such a painful night that I ran to the window. And at the same time, me and him looked at each other in the eyes, word for word, and said, "Dude, my butthole." At the same exact time.
That's funny.
I think a lot of people at that coffee shop have that comment.
Yeah, bro. The amount of caffeine you drink plus eating.
No, I'm a very little caffeine kind of guy.
Okay, whatever, bro. I don't even know who you are anymore. I don't know what
I
is
drink
real.
75% decaf when I work there.
Really?
Yeah.
That makes sense because otherwise you'd have a freaking stroke.
And an ulcer.
Yeah.
Lack of stomach lining.
At the most, one coffee a day. at the most.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a 2 espressos a day. Like my Billie Jean, God bless that woman. She loves me, bro. She knows now. I didn't even tell her this, bro. She just knows. Billie Jean, she's very aware of my routines even before I am. And I was watching this Andrew Huberman thing where he's like, don't drink coffee until you've been awake for 90 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Because it essentially only delays the brain's processing of like your wake up.
And cortisol dumps and all sorts of things.
And so like let that all dump out before you drink coffee, because that way you won't get that afternoon sleepies. I was like, all right, Ty, I'll try that. I didn't really communicate that to her, but she just noticed my coffee was not drank. My coffee was not drunk by the time like lunch came around or something like that, or like talking about lunch. And so she just naturally adopted, bro. And so she just,
incredible.
With our espresso machine, she just does the double tap button of the Nespresso. And if you double tap it, it brews less in volume, but more concentrated. And so she does 2 of those with our homemade creamer, because most creamer nowadays just has friggin' soybean oil or vegetable oil, and it's so bad for you. Like the fact that you can have creamer outside, like for camping, and it'll be the last thing to go bad, really upsets me. Yeah, that's a bad thing to put in your body. But anyway, so we just make our own creamer and all that. It's just the heaven of coffee. I really only need 1 of those a day. Like by the time I'm done drinking it, I feel like pretty
What
good
is
to go.
homemade creamer? Can you walk
Homemade
me through
creamer? So it's like it's a little bit of heavy cream, a little bit of chocolate milk, a little bit of what's wrong with that? What's wrong with chocolate milk?
I thought it was funny. It's just like
Well, it's a lot less sugar
No, it's good.
than having milk and then adding like something to it, syrup wise.
I see.
And chocolate milk is actually really good for like just getting electrolytes and hydrating. It's got chocolate. You didn't know this?
I'm gonna start drinking.
Dude, chocolate milk is a better fluid for rehydrating your body than Gatorade or water.
Oh my god!
Seriously, bro. Like it's like studies have come out about it. It's like read it. White papers legit about like.
I'm having some serious doubts right now.
No, seriously. No, there's white papers of like why professional athlete teams like NBA teams, NFL teams will drink a glass of like chocolate milk to recover.
Chocolate milk is
workouts.
a very like calorie dense milk.
But it doesn't even have that much sugar in it, dude. It's like pretty low.
I'm just picturing Ron Burgundy just
drinking
his
milk.
milk.
It's
Oh
like,
god, it's so hot. Like after a workout, like just gets out of like just a gnarly, sweaty workout, and you're just like over there, like just chugging chocolate milk in the steam room.
I definitely enjoyed post workout doing chocolate milk over normal milk for protein shakes. Felt way less heavy and felt like just no kind of like bloated sleepiness afterwards.
Right.
All that said,
I'm switching.
All that said,
What else?
we use that, and then I can't remember what else she throws in there, but it's pretty much like nothing artificial. No artificial sweeteners or anything like that. No oils, which is of course the worst thing, bro. Like I don't think people realize how bad vegetable oil and soybean oil is on like not just the human body but the male body, and so you really just don't want that in your digestion tract,
down in your testes, shriveling them up.
There's a lot of science. Again, go read white papers, right? But like plant-based oils, outside of some like
olive oil.
Olive oil is pretty good. Olive oil is pretty good. Yeah, I mean, don't be drinking it. That's
there are people that do that. They'll drink a tablespoon.
You really shouldn't, bro. That's so hard on your digestion tract. But
it is, but it's good fat.
Yeah, there's better ways to get that fat. But anyway, all I'm saying is take a look at it. Seed oil is pretty much one of the worst things you could do. A lot of people don't realize that seed oil, the seed oil industry was seriously going underwater. And then they transitioned from being a manufacturing oil for mechanical parts and devices to commercial market to be used for cooking. And like, there are people alive today that remember when that happened. Like they're old, but they're like, I remember. It was like right after World War II when like all of a sudden they weren't using grapeseed oil to lube the parts at the factory. And they were saying it was good for us to put in our food. Bro, can you imagine like how hard of a sell that was at the time? And now like no one thinks twice about
In
it.
a couple of years, we're like, oh, deep fried and some Pennzoil.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Exactly,
take
bro.
take that little
Get that chicken.
Yeah,
Synthetic?
Yeah.
Here's why I oil my cutting board with synthetic lube instead of the pan.
Speaking of creamer,
Wait, hold on. Before we go too much further, all that said, Larry's portable pizza is trash and garbage, and that's where I die.
All right.
Good night, ladies and
We
gentlemen.
can move on to another topic. We have other things we need to discuss.
Such not a fan of it.
No, it's not that I'm not a fan of it, bro. It's that I'm not a fan of how it gets here, and it's not warm when they show up to our front door. I'm not a fan of their customer service. And ultimately, I don't think they got that many good options compared to like the a la carte, whatever you want, make it your dream pizza Domino's.
God,
So the world is your oyster. You can app it. Just get on the app.
That is
The
literally
Domino's
how
app- the Domino's
Billie
app
Jean
is
and I
so
order
legit.
our Domino's,
Oh, yeah.
bro. You get the points and the discount and
Scan-
unique
It
discounts.
scans your essence and it just
Yeah, bro.
puts
I
the right
just
pizza out that you're
straight
feeling.
up like
Does Domino's
prick
have
my finger,
gluten-free
let
pizza?
it absorb my DNA. Yeah, I
Do
think
they
so.
really?
Yeah, I think so.
I think you're lying.
I am. I don't know.
Wait, hold up, real quick. So there's I'm interested in trying this because me and
The creamer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and my wife
My wife
my wife and I recently discovered a local farm that does non-pasteurized milk. And
bro, there is a lot of talk around non-pasteurized milk being the secret to being like,
yes.
Odysseus.
Well, so my wife is pretty dairy intolerant, and from what we've been told is that in other countries people do not have these issues because their milk is non-pasteurized. And so we found it's illegal in the States to do that, but there's some loophole with like,
But fluoride in the water is legal? Tell me how that makes sense.
we got a Michigan boy here.
Just get it, guys. I'm just kidding.
But we found a local farm that has a pretty long wait list, and they'll deliver it locally. And from what I've been told is that it is basically like cream, and it is also sweeter.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I've ever had like I want to say I'm country enough that I've had a glass of non-pasteurized milk.
If you go to another country, that's what you're drinking.
No, dude. Not in Norway, guarantee.
I guarantee it is.
Or like
in Norway.
like-
Straight
like-
from the frickin' udder, dude.
I'll be honest, I don't remember them selling milk in Norway. I remember them selling a version
That's because
No,
they
no.
walk outside, they pour themselves a glass, and they come back inside.
I just remember them selling what everyone put on their cereals was like essentially heavy cream, but it was yogurt. It was like,
Dude,
it
that's
was like,
not milk.
It was
bro.
like it was like Danimals. You remember Danimals, boys?
Yeah.
It was like Danimals, and you just like opened the carton and you pour it out, and I was like, "What is this?" And they're like,
Activia or whatever.
"It wasn't Activia. It wasn't like anything digested, but it was like it was so good, bro." And as soon as I came back from Norway, I was just buying it at Whole Foods for every bowl of
That's
cereal.
what my Scottish friend, the first time I spent the night over at his house, and we had gone to his grandma's house early in the morning because we were like riding bikes and it was pretty close. And that's what his grandma gave me, was some freaking like oats with some
Runny yogurt,
yogurt.
bro.
And
Was it not delicious?
no, I literally was like, "What the fuck is this?"
You didn't like it,
Dude, I wanted some Frosted Flakes.
dude? This
And I did
damn-
not.
It's American.
And today I would probably appreciate it, but at the time we had a lot of sugar in my house, and
You weren't ready for that.
I wasn't ready for it.
All
I
right,
was
go-
ready for the-
Go ahead and talk about the milk stuff. I'm gonna look up. I just thought of a thing I need to look up real quick.
Is it pertaining to this, or is it?
Yeah,
is it
you know,
shifting gears?
cows are holy in India. India is like one of our biggest listener bases.
Yeah. Do they
Goat milk.
Do they drink milk?
That's
Maybe-
a great point.
Maybe goat milk.
Yeah. Do they? Because I would
Sheep
think.
milk?
Well, I would think that they're not harming the animal, and that do they revere milk even greater than we do? You know.
Here's the thing. If you thought that cows were holy, then their meat is like fucking top notch. You
Hey,
know?
Yeah.
Whoa, they say weird. They say this is Quora, which used to be like something you could trust. Cows are considered holy in India, just like mothers are considered holy and sacred to their children. In fact, it is precisely because Indians drink the milk of cows that the cow is considered sacred and holy. I think that's a generalization.
But
but
I've heard that it's because I've heard there's a couple things as well as the fact that like
traditionally most milk in India is from buffalo, not cows.
buffaloes, huh? Probably real buffaloes, not American buffaloes, aka the bison. Water buffaloes that they're milking. How do they milk those things, dude? Those things seem a little bit randy, a little bit wild.
I mean, there's literally a woman here milking a yak. Like she's like posed up just like you would be in America. Honestly, yeah. No. So see, I'll send you a screenshot, bro. I mean, it just looks like. Imagine her wearing a cowboy hat. That's
Dude,
America,
she's got
bro.
the biggest
That's
smile
America.
on her face.
Yeah, that's the way she's grinning. That's the way we do it here.
She's having a great time.
That's cool. Wild. I'm glad I know that now. Mm-hmm. I work with so many people who are immigrants from India that I now don't have to be uncultured.
You want to give me some of that yak milk?
Dude, I talk to them so much about India and culture. Today I went to an Indian restaurant, and I literally went there just because my coworker was talking about a specific dish. And I was like, oh, it's on this restaurant list. He's like, oh, yeah, go there and get it. And I got it, and I sent him a picture of it when they brought it out. He's like, oh, that is not. That is not hun goat dune. And I was like, well, what do I do? And he's like, I don't know. I just remember like eating it. It was fine. It wasn't like it was a bad lunch. I'll stick with chicken tikka masala though.
Yeah.
But like,
I'll stick with that Chick-fil-A. Yeah.
Man,
do you don't like chicken tikka masala?
It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
Do you remember
It's
one
fine.
of the first times that we hung out?
I could throw this at your head, dude. That is like, it's creamy and delicious. The first time you hung out at my house, what?
No. One of the first times that you and I hung out, do you remember where it was at?
Yeah, dude. Are you talking about the first time?
We
We went to Who Hut the first time.
Yeah, that was the first time, but
Rest
maybe
in
the
peace.
second time.
Barachi Biryani.
No, it was the Pakistani grill place over off of Elizabeth.
Oh yeah,
And we
yeah,
got
yeah.
some chicken tikka masala and some garlic naan.
Yum yums.
No. Was it off of Elizabeth?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then they closed. They're not there anymore.
Oh, that was when one of the first dates with me and my wife as well.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they did it to go, and I knew like when I went in there, I was like, dude, there was like straight up like a ceiling tile out of the ceiling on the floor. I was just like, this place ain't lasting.
Dude, it was delicious though.
It was good. It was really good.
Ah, man, that's so disappointing to hear that.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. Well, folks, this is the Mick and Pat show.
Oh, I guess you should say it by now.
But
How much
you
of
should
that is
know-
going to
you
get
should,
cut out?
Not a lot. I think it was great, but we're 30 minutes in. That's okay. But we haven't introduced. There's another voice talking. It's been here before. At this point, 3 episodes. If you've heard this now,
This would be 4.
This is the 4th.
Yeah.
He's been in 3.
Yeah.
What? Really?
Yeah, this is 4th episode.
Man, better
and
let
it's
it count.
Dean.
Yeah.
Dean is here.
Thanks for having me.
We got to hear about his rooftop tent
Career
endeavors. Yeah, and now
crisis.
about his rooftop tent crisis. And so there's a wild, mythical thing out there in the world that we hear about, and
We see it from our
we see it from
distant
afar.
screens.
We see it through a screen, through the portals, and we see our influencers going there. We see, all the top dogs heading over to this place, and I've wondered about it for a long time about what it is. And over the last, it's always been a big thing. Well, not always, but it's been a big thing for a long time. But over the last 5 to 7 years, it's become an even bigger thing, and that thing is SHOT Show. So out in the city of Sin, a couple people get together yearly to discuss new gear, and I guess the gear ranges from everything. It specifically centers on really firearms because it's the SHOT Show.
Shot show. Firearms, accessories.
But how are you supposed to shoot a gun unless you have an 800 round magazine attached to it? How are you supposed to shoot a gun unless you have the correct belt on that holds that gun to your body? How are you supposed to shoot a gun unless you have a rooftop tent? You can't do it. You just can't do it. So SHOT Show, it has all sorts of everything there. It's like a mythical wonderland of all the things. And Dean got to go there and be a part of it. And we're interested to hear about it. And there's a chance that since you were working, you didn't get to maybe see all of the fun stuff, but you at least got to peer through the curtain. You got to see inside the world.
Pierce the veil.
you got to pierce the veil of the SHOT Show. So, is this something you've known about for a long time? Like you've known of SHOT Show? Have you been there before? What's the deal?
Yeah, never had been there. I had known about it for a while. It was kind of, I don't want to say on our radar, but something that would have been pretty cool. But I didn't. Yeah.
Oh,
Mick,
you didn't
what
have to. I didn't want to interrupt you. That's why I was
Okay,
raising
okay.
my hand. Was this your company's debut at SHOT Show? You do a lot of conventions. Have they been to SHOT Show before?
Yeah, never been to SHOT Show. This is our debut at SHOT Show. We were the only rooftop tent company there.
No
so,
shit. What?
Let's
yeah,
go.
it's
Middle
there's, and I'll tell you something. I'm really
Slap my ass,
hoping.
call me a biscuit. I would have thought there'd been 10 tents there.
I'm really hoping it stays this way. But the vehicle that we had in our booth was one of like maybe 3 cars in the entire show. Like people just don't bring their cars are not a part of that show. And I hate to be kind of the people like cutting into this industry from overlanding, and I'm really hoping it stays predominantly firearms. Our goal was we're launching a line of tents and accessories that are going to be geared predominantly toward people in shooting and hunting and fishing, and we do not want to be carrying like our side of the industry into the show. We want it to be like really like coming into a different industry. We don't want any crossover or cross contamination. And so I'm hoping that it stays that way. I've seen this happen to a couple other industries and shows, and it's a beautiful thing that they got going there, and it's really cool. And so I'd hope it stays the same, and I hope that next year we can kind of cater more toward that industry and keep things pretty authentic. But I had a great time. We learned a lot from there because it was nothing that we expected. And
in comparison to other conventions you've been to, let's just I don't want to cut you off, but I'm just really curious of like, it seems like it's, 100,000 people in a convention center. Like, what is it really?
Dude, it's fucking massive.
Okay, so was this the biggest like con you've been to for you guys' company?
I don't quote me on this, but I think it is the biggest show in America.
Oh hell yeah, brother!
And
Just pop for that.
It's not even in the sheer size of it, because I think that might go to like maybe SEMA or another show. The thing is that these other shows have size on them because they're just larger objects, larger things being sold. But these like guns are small. Gun accessories are tiny, and so
You can pack it up.
yeah, for them to have as much room as they have for the accessories that they do have, and I actually appreciate how small and square footage is. And when I say small, it's like it's just small compared to like something like SEMA or something else. It's like, but you're like, if you're in the main hall first day, second day, it's shoulder to shoulder. Like,
Wow.
you are having a hard time walking around. And to put it in scale, like some of these booths, these larger companies have booth spaces that are so impressive that they're easily dropping $1 million just on their booth.
Oh my!
We have like
God.
2-story buildings getting built inside of this convention for like meeting rooms and for showcases, and like full staircases getting built. Like it looks like. Did you ever go to American Furniture Warehouse as a kid?
Hell yeah,
And it
I
looked
go
like,
there once a year.
yeah,
so.
it looked like there were like houses inside of American Furniture. That's what this is.
Yeah.
Like, it's just impressive. It is just sheerly impressive, and it shows how much money there is in firearms. But it's warranted. I think there's a lot of industries that don't have a lot of reason to funnel as much money into their spaces as they do. But the thing is with SHOT Show is this is a really big industry where people are making a lot of ground and a lot of advancements quickly, and there's a lot of really good respected players in the game, and there's government contracts. And
There
so,
is.
yeah.
That was one thing I always wondered. Like, I've seen the inside of like I should say I've seen videos of the like inside of like the internal government shows, right? Like of like where they're like, this is everyone here works for a government. Everyone here, is either a consultant or a member of a government body looking at like warheads, tanks, helicopter. You know what I mean? So, but I've never really seen SHOT Show in any of its coverage being like displayed as like so military contractors here, U.S. government here, British government forces here, right? I've never really seen it as that. I've always seen it as like very recreational or law enforcement. I see a lot of law enforcement stuff.
And so there is that. Like, that is a very big piece. But unlike other shows, this is industry only. So outsiders or public cannot get into the show.
Yeah.
Whereas other shows that I've been to, there's like either the entire show is for the public or just one day.
Oh, so you can't just go to SHOT Show.
No, you can't.
You can't
I
buy a
didn't know
ticket
this.
and go.
Yeah. You didn't know that?
I've just always figured
You got to be a YouTube personality to get invited.
Whether it's like you're in the industry, you're in DOD, or you're media or something, like you have to have some sort of credentials to even be there. I knew this very shortly leading up to the show. But in my opinion, that makes it all the more exciting because when you're there, like people are putting on their new products and their new technology because people are landing really big business deals.
you don't just have
being
tire
the show.
kickers.
No,
If
not
I
at
went to
all.
SHOT Show, I'd just be like, hey, how much is that? Oh, it's that many tens of thousands of dollars? Let me hold it for a second. You know what I mean?
Don't get me wrong, like you're gonna get those people, but majority of people are not, because it's not like it's like you've got, like if I go to SEMA, for example, it's like you've got people who are into race cars, you've got people that are into like ceramic coating, or you've got people that are into off-road. It's like you got a lot of people that walk into a section, they have absolutely no idea what they're looking at. But it's like this show it's firearms.
It's
Like,
good.
if you're there to look at firearms, and you're there to look at things that have to do with firearms. It's not like there's a bunch of sects of firearms that, I mean, there are, but it's not that far.
Sex of firearms.
Sects of
With a
firearms.
T.
Sorry, it's just like I don't know what that is, but I like it.
So there's just some really impressive stuff going on there, and it's overstimulating my jaws just like to the floor, like when I'm walking around stuff. A lot of big name people walking around there. Like I got to meet Tim Kennedy when I was there, which was pretty cool.
Oh wow. Okay, so
Wait, hold on. Yeah, because we do have a lot of questions, but I want you to, when you're ready.
yeah,
Yeah,
just keep
I'll
going.
be very brief.
Yeah,
Sure.
no, just keep going.
Don Jr. just happened to be at our booth when I
shit.
wasn't there.
That's not that's that's wild.
Yeah, just
Did you get a picture with him? Did you get a rep?
he was there when I was not there, so I left to go walk around.
You get back and you're like, what
and
the frick, who was just here?
he was just no security detail, nothing. He was just walking around.
Yeah, duh, because no one in there.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's like everybody here is my security detail.
And it's on the same page.
But there's some really awesome booths there, and at the end of the day, like people are putting on beer gardens, or they've just got kegs and people can go by and get a beer. It's just really fascinating. You learn a lot about some of these companies and the products that they have and what they're about. And so we were pretty close to some smaller companies. That was really awesome. And some stuff that was near us. So yeah, it was a great experience, cool. And we'll be back next year.
All right.
Even though we're not really in the industry and we can't treat it as an industry show because we're not selling to dealers or distributors. It is purely a marketing experience because everybody there, it's like not all overlanders are people who are into camping like guns. but all people who like firearms like camping. So it's like, it was great for us.
It's a weird Venn diagram.
Yeah. It's like, it's a square and rectangle
Yeah, it's
thing.
like one circle fits entirely in the other one.
So how many days is it?
So it's 4 days. It's 5 days for us because we have to set up and do all that, but it's 4 days just for the show itself.
I did for sure.
Okay, so my biggest question, and it's, I know you might not be as familiar with some of these people as Pat and I that we like religiously follow on YouTube, but did you get to meet anyone or see anyone on the show floor that is like kind of in like gun celebrity, firearm celebrity stuff, and like get to see them kind of off camera? Because I think about like TFB TV, James Reeves, Demolition Ranch, Matt from there, Brandon Herrera running for Congress, or sorry, he's running to be a senator, right? Senator or congressman?
I don't know. I don't know which one.
But he's there, right? And he has his own firearms manufacturing company. And so I'm always curious of like who they are off camera.
Yeah. So this is like part of the downside of I mean, it could be an upside if you're like in a really, really busy area or with a really well-known company in the industry. But I was working probably 70% of the time. So I didn't get to bump into a lot of these guys. But I'm also not super aware of a lot of the influencers in the gun space. And I'm a very big gun connoisseur myself, but I have a very limited amount of people that I'm following. But they're there. Like, I still see their videos. Like, there's people, if I'm walking down the hall and I'm on my way to another person's booth or I'm walking around, there are influencers where you just like hear people holler around the halls like, oh man, I'm a huge fucking fan of your stuff. Like, I love you, dude. All the time. and a lot of the time, like, these guys respond really well. Like, they're like, hey man, I really appreciate it. Even though they're getting basically catcalled all day long. Like, they respond really well and they're taking pictures with people. And it shows that there's actually a lot of humility in the space, which is really cool. I did not get to bump in a ton of these guys myself, and the ones that I did witness, I did not know who they were. And you hear it, you hear somebody getting catcalled, and you're like, God, I wish you knew who the fucking guy was. But
you did mention Tim Kennedy that you bumped into him, met him, or he came and checked out your guys' stuff. Or
he was at the 511 booth, understandably so. The 511 booth was small, but it was pretty rad.
Yeah.
And so he was there. He gave like a small talk, and I talked to my wife about this. There's some, he's done a lot of really cool things, and he's a very influential guy in the space, and he's a pretty a pretty inspiring speaker, I would say. But I would say that if I were not a believer, I would resonate with a lot of what he's saying. But as a believer, there's kind of a wall or a limit of how much I can resonate with people who believe that they are their own protector and savior at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so as much as I have a lot of respect for these guys, I can't resonate a ton of what they say. But he was a really great guy, and had a really big smile on, and he was really kind to anybody that he met, which was awesome. So yeah, I just briefly got to meet him, but I think he was there with Vivek Ramaswamy as well. I did not get to meet Vivek. I didn't even see him. But
sorry, he's irrelevant now.
Just immediately.
Who knows, dude? Maybe.
I'm so bitter, dude. I was gonna vote for Vivek. I don't care who does it. I was on the Vivek train.
We've got a potential VP here.
I don't know if he will be. I know everyone's telling Trump he should be, but
it's
I think
either him, Tucker, or Tulsi.
I think it's Tulsi.
You think it's Tulsi?
I think that's the wise move and then like have Vivek be like, on the staff.
See, I thought RFK was going to go for Tulsi because
they can fight over.
The great thing is she's a free agent.
She is a free agent. Yeah,
she's awesome.
And yep.
I don't care what anyone says.
Sorry to get off track.
It's funny because we just jumped into like.
I don't vote on party lines. I don't vote on party lines at all. Okay, all right. My other question then is like asshole to chill ratio. Like if you had to give it like the amount of people you interact with at this convention, because I think a lot of people think of like non-gun people think a gun convention's just going to be full of pricks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Lots of real tree camo, which I'm a fan of, by the way. But just saying, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like,
you definitely get a mixture. I would say I was.
Is it like a 1 to 2 ratio, 1 to 5, 1 to 9?
how many fake operators did you see?
Oh man. Well, it was also really hard to tell because like most of the dudes that you saw were just like military age males, fade, tattoos, low cut shirt, like
In shape.
Yeah, in shape. Wearing like a black rifle shirt or something, you know.
Style.
So, but those are all just like purely based on I see somebody and I'm making an assumption of what their life looks like. Not a negative one, but I'm making an assumption for sure. But I did run into a couple dudes where I was like, man, you're a dickhead. But I was pleasantly surprised that there was generally a lot of kindness and honestly just mutual respect for having. You got to understand that people who are at these shows share mostly the same hobbies, and because of that, the way that men have their identities in hobbies or accomplishments or things, like as soon as dudes find a mutual hobby that they can talk about, like around the grill or like anything, like they just get along. Like, and so I was pleasantly surprised. And there was a lot of great people that I met, and it was a good time. There was a lot of good people there, but these guys also could have been total wieners, and you wouldn't have known because you were just geeking out about something that was mutual. And that's kind of what life is all about. That's what it's about, is geeking out about these things that you're interested in, even if you're very different people. So in that way, it's pretty cool.
It's awesome.
Whenever I do any activity with fellas, golfing, shooting, fishing, whatever, you get home, my wife, Mace wouldn't do. Goes, so, like, how's he doing? Like, what you guys talk about?
Oh, I don't know.
And I was like, yeah. I look at him like,
oh shit, I think he's going through a divorce.
I know. I'm like, yeah, but he got.
Should have asked about that.
He got this dope new holster though.
And we talked about it for like
his
an hour.
9-iron's sick as hell.
She's like, what? She's like for instance, like you get back from golfing. She's like, so what'd you guys talk about? And I just look at her and say,
I don't remember, bro.
golf. I was like, what are you talking about? Like fishing? You know, like she's like, so do you know how he's doing? I'm like, no idea.
Honestly, he just insulted me the whole time, and it was a great time.
Yeah, he insulted the size of my member. It was great. I loved it. We'll get out there again. It's like you spent 8 hours with him. You don't know how he's doing. It's like, in one sense, it's a great, beautiful thing. The other sense, maybe check in on your bros. But mostly, it's just a great, beautiful thing. You could just hang out. So
okay, I mean, we gotta ask the question everyone wants to know. Is, Dean, the coolest shit you saw? Come on, dog. Come on,
yeah,
Dean,
yeah.
give us the coolest top 10 things.
And so my coolest things. I'm a marketing guy, so a lot of this is coming from a place of like
the display.
Yeah, the impressive or the things that I've got a couple like technical things that I'm like, this is pretty friggin' sick. So one of just like generally like cool things that I saw, there was a company that made suppressors for miniguns. Like fully functional suppressor for miniguns.
Is it just a giant tube, or is it a tiny suppressor for
on each
barrel?
So a giant tube that attaches fully on, and it's got like all of like the barrel holes, and it's fully rotating, fully attached.
Dude, I'm having feelings just thinking about that.
And
like in my head.
When I say looking at this, it was one of the most impressive like pieces of technology. It was just immaculate. It was just immaculate.
That's incredible, but just really quick. Why?
I was like,
dude, nobody knows.
I don't know, man. They started hearing the minigun before they started hearing like Fortunate Son. So I want to make sure they can hear Fortunate Son.
Well, okay, I will explain that I kind of learned so the booth right next to us had I think it was like maybe an M2. It was a 50 cal machine gun with a suppressor on it, which is very, very hard to do because the suppressor that they made ended up replacing the entire barrel, and it was really cool. So
this is just so the military can stop paying on disability.
That's exactly what they're doing. So,
dude, no, yeah, that makes 100%
the drive
sense.
behind the guy was in
hearing damage.
Like in
all of our guns are suppressed.
I think it's like he said something like 85% of veterans have really severe hearing damage, and if you're in an Apache or if you're a machine gunner, those guys are getting like 15 to 20 like pounds of basically pressure like with every round and thousands of times a minute, and so it's just a lot of force coming back. And so I'm sure that is the logical reason for having a suppressor on a minigun, but I'm sure the conversation actually went, this would be fucking sick.
and
what if we get a minigun to 140 decibels?
It's like, we're going to SHOT Show and we need to make something sick.
And it's like easy sell for where you can be like, so how much did you guys pay out last year in
it was
disability?
About $18 billion over the course of the next 40 years.
They're like, well, these cost like $15K a pop. How would you put them on everything?
Yeah.
Oh, but well, we actually made them for $2K. We sell them to consumers for $15, but government, that's $45K.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but not to. I would take a piece of that if I was in this situation too. I'm not dogging on it too much, but it's just that's hilarious. And I do want a suppressed minigun.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. All right, what else? What other stuff did you see? I mean, I've heard a lot of talk about the PSA booth this year from like people who were just like PSA rolled up literally with just like 18 things in alpha stage of like development, and they just were like, yeah, so vote. Yeah, and we'll make whatever we'll put great. Whatever these we want in production. And I voted, bro. Yeah, I voted. I like went online. Yeah,
they should have just showed up with like the most ratchet display. It's just like pallets. All they had was like pallets stood up on the. No, but here's the deal. No, because we all know what PSA is about. It's about getting guns in your hands, right?
Oh, it is.
And so here's the thing: the display shouldn't be special. It should be just a pallet stood up on its end with a couple like hooks on it, like like Dad's garage hooks with the yellow rubber on them. Yeah. Just those screwed in with just all their guns sitting on them, and they're like, we know what we're about.
Dude, my favorite expression is when there's a way, there's a PS way.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, and it's like, that's true, bro. I think, and I watched an interview with the CEO of PSA where he was like, they were like, why do you sell your gun at this price when competitors sell at this price? And he's like, because they want to make a lot of money. And he's just like calling shit out facts. He's like, we sell at our price because we believe that's the price that we can afford the cost of like manufacturing to get it into people's hands. And he went into some numbers of like, he's like, yeah, so that line, no profit. We literally sold it for what it costs. And it was just like, what?
Yeah.
They sold their lowers. They produced an insane amount of lowers on the front end of COVID. And then COVID happened, and like there was a bunch of like firearm policy stuff about like perhaps lower cost or lowers being banned. 80% build guns when Biden was coming to office, and they were just like, so what do we do with all these? Do we just try to like sell them up on like upcharge them and just try to make whatever money we can?
Ride the fear wave,
or do we just keep them as cheap as possible, get them out, so that way someone's like, well, I got 3 lowers now. I could build out my gun. And so that, that's what they did. And so they like for like 4 years, they took a loss on every 80% lower they sold. But they say like from the way they sold their other parts, because people would get those lowers and like, all right, well, I'll just build it out to be a, whatever. I'll just buy my parts from PSA. That's where their profit came back. But it was a long haul, and there's times where it wasn't like, it was very unprofitable for like how much they were losing on the lowers. And I love PSA for that, dude. Like that is like so patriotic, man. That's like so like customer minded.
And it's like, is it the best? No. Also, will it send something very quickly?
Downrange?
Yeah, at a long distance.
But yes, it also will. Too, like my biggest thing, like when lowers are one of those things of like why would you pay $300 for a lower?
Yeah,
like especially like when I found out that Anderson Manufacturing made just about every like company's lower.
Yeah.
Before like kind of the industry caught on and they started making their own. Like for a while there, don't quote me on it, but Anderson made like all of Springfield's lowers, all of Smith & Wesson's, all of Daniel Defense's, up until all those places started doing their like own like labeled.
I think
lowers.
Daniel was making their own.
No, dude.
Really?
For real? Yeah, for a long time they were like doing like the Anderson was just like making everyone's. And so everyone was like,
and there's a magical word now. It's called Seracoat.
yeah,
You know.
Yeah.
And-
Which actually that was one of our biggest connections at the show, was talking to Seracoat to start Seracoating our tents.
Well, wait, how does that work?
Yeah.
How do you
So-
Seracoat a tent?
Well, you're not Ceracoating the fabric, but
Oh,
we
the
have
shell.
aluminum hard shells.
Yeah.
And dude, I will say the company Seracoat is incredibly impressive, and their product is impressive. Their business model is impressive. Their team was impressive, and they've got some really cool stuff coming out. And I talked to them for a while because we'll probably try and implement some of their coating like technology. Basically, what you can do is you can buy their technology and their coatings and put them in your factories, and they'll show you how to use it, and you can start to utilize it on your products. And so that's why everybody uses them.
Yeah.
And
That's when you know you've made it. When you're selling to the sellers.
yeah,
You know, like Gore-Tex and stuff. You're like you don't buy from Gore-Tex.
Yeah,
You buy
Gore-Tex jacket
Stuff that-
from.
you
North
buy it from
Face.
everyone
Yes,
else that
everybody else
uses
made.
Gore-Tex.
Yeah, it's so awesome. Ceracoat, yeah.
And it's a branding now. It's branding now.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever you see something that has Ceracoat on it, you're like, yeah, this is legit.
I'll pay 80 to 300% more.
Yeah,
If it's OD green,
pre-Ceracoated. Yeah,
Yeah,
that makes
so
sense.
Seracoat guys, shout out to them. They were really cool, great dudes. As far as booth spaces go, man, I had a really impressive time at the Kriss Vector booth.
What else do they have other than the Vector?
Different models of Vector.
Hell yeah, dude. The
But-
same thing
wait,
they've been
wait.
doing for the last 15
But I will ask
years.
you, when have you held a Kriss Vector before?
I've held one. I've never shot one.
Yeah,
But
I've
I,
held one.
I had never even held one before.
It's cool.
And yeah, it is cool.
It's
and
really
they've got a fucking lot of them at
For
the booth.
our listeners out there and Pat, what is a Kriss Vector? I feel like I might know if I'm refreshed.
Okay, how would you even
I-
describe the way it looks? So imagine
First of all, what is it?
it's originally it was a submachine gun designed to essentially replace a lot of the more outdated submachine gun designs. The recoil system on the Kriss Vector is like really impressive. They created a downward curving recoil rod,
Like a slight curve.
and it goes from where so your finger and trigger is behind the mag, while the mag is a stick mag, usually 45 or 9mm Glock mags. And that stick mag goes in front, and when you pull the trigger, the bolt recoils down, not into the stock, because the stocks are all folding based, but it curves downward in front of the grip. And so the recoil management is unique, but it allows a lot of and this is why it doesn't make sense for like a civilian use, really. Well, it doesn't. I'm not saying that like you shouldn't own one. You're free to own whatever you want. But when it's in full auto, the way the recoil pattern's described when people have shot it, I've never shot a full auto, right? But from just what I've seen, people describe it as like your MP5 recoil is very circular because of the delayed rollback of the bolt. And so it's not up and it's not to the side, just very circular. The Kriss Vector is almost more like your contraction of muscles just holding it up against its own weight
Is the resistance.
is the resistance it needs just to keep it on target. And it has this weird, like, it doesn't buck, but it has this weird kind of like pull down on your backhand from that recoil, but it's not enough to like seriously kilter, like seesaw your point of aim. And it's very easy to maintain on target at full auto. That said, I've heard back in the day there was like reliability issues because of like the springs, a lot of like the MPX stuff. I don't know if you guys saw or in the early days of the MPX from SIG, springs would split out this back side of the bolt. So I'm sure they've worked that all out now, but it was one of those things of like, it just never really took off the way I thought it was going to. Definitely became a bigger gun in video games than it did in real life.
Yeah, and I'd say that's where a lot of the popularity came from.
Yeah.
And for me in particular, I was like, I've never even held one of these before.
They're so cool, though.
And when they've got a lot of essentially the same gun or just different models of the same gun, like all across the booth, and they've got like salespeople walking around. It was pretty cool. It was just, I could just say it was just sick.
Yeah.
And they've got some really cool stuff there.
You get to look at any of the sites, because one thing I've been wondering, I hear the talk, is the Hollison. It's not a holographic, but it's essentially the frame of a red dot that allows night vision. And it's electrical night vision, right?
Yeah.
So it's delayed, but it's really not, and it's like literally a night vision red dot in the compact size of like most enclosed emitters, and everyone is saying it's like defying logic for what
So-
night vision sights should be on a firearm.
I thought it was like a projector of some sort. Am I wrong about
I
that?
don't know. I've never seen it in person. I've just heard of all the like buzz around of like,
So
it's
you're not
so
saying
impressive.
You're not saying IR capable.
No,
You're saying
it is.
When well,
Oh,
not like
yeah.
everybody makes IR capable, like right. But when you look through this window of basically a red dot or holographic frame, inside the frame you're seeing
inside the frame,
something
it's green,
illuminated.
It's green, and everyone is in it like it's using night vision, and it's not blown out in broad daylight like
Wow.
Analog phosphorus tubes would be, right? And it also apparently like the higher end version of the model allows for like night vision, so like everything around is green, but also combined with thermal. So like a person or anything that's warm at a certain temperature is colored like orange or yellowish, whereas everything else is like this like cool green tone.
Yeah.
So if someone's just been cooking,
It's got to reach a certain temperature. I don't really know.
Right.
Yeah.
That's got to be some freaking proprietary technology.
All I'm saying is I'm a
Sounds
big
wild.
Hollison fan. Did you get to go to by their booth? Do you see anything? Like
I
this?
saw their booth. I did not go into it, and this is something that I'm like.
I heard there was
now,
1,000 people around it at all times.
dude. It's just the way a lot of booths were, to be honest.
The big
Like,
company names were just like getting swarmed.
yeah, like I mean, the smart companies had some really interactive booths, and it's not just like, oh, I get to pick up this gun and feel it in my hands for the first time. It was more of an interaction. Like I'm a big Benchmade guy, so I went by the Benchmade booth, and two things that they had going on that were really cool was one, they just released their cutlery line, and so they had a guy doing he was a professional fisherman, and he was like cutting open a fish and doing like class that
Scales and stuff.
Yeah, that he had used these knives for, and like what he thought about their knives and what was most important to him when he was doing knives, when he was fishing. And it's like very interactive. You got people on the loudspeaker, so you've got this big crowd of people coming around. But on the other side of the booth, if you had a Benchmade knife, you could bring it by, and they would clean it, sharpen it, and do any repairs on it that you needed to. And they had a wait list, so you drop your knife off, you come pick it up at the end of the day. I should have done it. I didn't. But it's like you have these craftsmen just sitting there at their desk, like doing their craft, and you can watch them if you want to. So, like in my opinion, like that's a very interactive booth that you have people sitting around watching whatever you're doing. And there weren't a lot of those booths, but there were some that people were just generally more attracted to. Christensen Arms had a massive booth.
Dude, I heard Christensen Arms like balls out at SHOT Show.
Absolutely.
But
Silencer.
when your 22 long range sniper rifle, like long range marksman rifle, is $5,000, I guess you can ball out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Silencer Co. had a really good booth. It was pretty impressive. Dead Air was fairly close to us, and I know one of their owners, fantastic guys, really cool booth. They had Faro Concepts right next to them, which was, and from a marketing standpoint, very impressive, because if you walked into the Faro Concepts booth, I could not find a single person that worked there, but there were like 80 people standing in their booth drinking beer. And that's because like at the end of the day, they're like serving beer, and there's all these people hanging out in their booth, and like they're big marketing companies. So you've got these like all these dudes that look like they're operators just sitting in the booth, and you're like, I almost want to look at these products, but I actually can't because no one here is, and no one here seems to work here at all. So I was like, yeah, they just had there's some cool stuff, and the products there were awesome. It's I'm glad I'm not in the firearm space because that is a very, very competitive space. And, a lot of small stuff that was really cool.
I feel like it's competitive in regards to like, everyone's making an AR-15. Everyone's making a striker-fired semi-auto handgun. But, like, I don't know, man. I feel like the firearm space is one of those things of, like, every year I see innovation succeed. You know, I see innovation, like, blossom. And, like, someone's like, so we tried this crazy-ass thing, and it's sick. And here I want to show you. And then, like, I think a good one is, like, the Hudson H9, I don't know, 5 years ago. This lower bore axis recoiling 1911 base design. It looks pretty futuristic / vintage at the same time. It ended up when it went into production having some reliability issues and parts were really limited. And, but like the theory of like this lower, like if the guide rod is lower, you know, if you're holding a standard handgun out and the recoil spring and guide rod is rather than being just above your index finger for the trigger, it's below it. The feeling of recoil is less up and back and more just into your wrist. And it worked. Everyone who had one said like, oh yeah, no, it works. It shoots so flat. But the company went out of business because they didn't have the means to maintain the demand for like repairs and all that. And they ate so much costs doing repair stuff from people sending stuff in. Daniel Defense bought them. Oof. And now, to Daniel Defense's credit, they have it listed as like the Daniel Defense H9. You know, it's still to be like reference to Hudson. In their design. And it's a little bit updated, but it's like because of their manufacturing, their quality, like no issues. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's been shooting it, and they're like, "This is great." And like that thing is out now. It's probably going to be getting holster soon. It's probably going to be getting a wider adoption, way more like critical testing and review, just because of availability and because of the brand name assigned to it. And it's hopefully an innovation across the industry in regards to like just like improving recoil management on semi-auto handguns, improving a 1911 design to be not just modern, but also like relevant with like modern technology, right? And so like I think the firearms industry does that. And you see the goofy stuff. I don't know if you guys seen of like someone like had like a bullpup AK kit that has no butt plate or stock. Like you just literally put the receiver of the AK in your shoulder and the magazine's here, but like the bullpup has your hand in front. It's like, yeah, you could do it. And it's just like, oh damn, this thing looks sketch, but it puts a full AK in like bullpup configuration, which is pretty sick. And yeah, is it gonna need some refinement? Yeah, is this like LSD fever dream of some Kalashnikov guys? Sure. But it's innovation and it's cool. Yeah. And they can do it in their garage and then they can take it out to SHOT Show or whatever and people can see it and someone like might be like, you're onto something here, I want to buy it. Yeah. And the coolest thing is like after they debuted that, like it was like 2 weeks later, you could see people in Ukraine using it. And it was like, oh, okay, all right, this is pretty adopted at this point.
Somebody took it. And I do wonder about for the companies like that, how many companies, maybe you saw a couple of them walking around like, are just betting the farm on a SHOT Show.
Yeah, a lot.
It's like small companies, kind of mom and poppy. They have a cool idea, and they're just like, all right, we're going to buy the booth this year.
Yeah, and booths they're expensive, and it is a massive investment. One thing I noticed that I would say is pretty common was you get larger companies that have DoD contracts, and they're like fine-tuning things, but they're not thinking innovatively in a much like more broad sense, and so they're fairly stagnant because they've got money flowing. They got DoD contracts coming.
Hey man,
and
don't ruin a good thing.
Yeah, and
I see that every day.
Yeah, there's some like really, it's very, very understandable, but that also leaves space for smaller guys who come in, and I think a lot of these guys that I see are typically engineers. They come in because they're like, I am not going to just change something small about what's currently being done, but I'm going to change something major because I see something that can be done differently. And you see a lot of those guys there. I talked to one company, I think it was Blackout Defense. They had an AR platform where they had like it was essentially like a tapered barrel. They had some interesting materials at the base of the barrel that dissipate heat faster, but they also have a design at the front of the barrel that allows it to not be pinned, but to stay in place. And so they've got a lot of former operators using their guns because former operators can be a little bit more risky about the stuff that they're using because there's no risk anymore. They're like, I want some new cool shit, and I've used a lot of stuff, so I'm down to kind of test out some things and try it. And for them, it's like these guys were just engineers, and that was what they were doing. And there was like, we saw something, we pursued it, and we're hoping that we think that like in the next couple of years we'll like make it big, basically, because we're kind of just starting out with this. And that they weren't necessarily starting out, but they were like really like making a name for themselves. They were like maybe a year into having a name in the industry. So they had some really cool, and there's just those people all over the place that are doing that. And those are maybe where you find the most intriguing things. In firearms itself, there's not, in the larger companies, there's not going to be a lot of leaps and bounds in technology. Yeah. In sights, like you'd said, like you're going to find there's a lot of room to grow in optics. But in firearms themselves, like a lot of the platforms have already been made. And so it's just kind of minor changes on the same platform. So you got to dig to find some really cool stuff. But for the most part, it's like you're just excited to see some really big companies that have been doing stuff pretty well for a long time.
Anything that you saw, Dean, and with your frame of mindset of like, you know what you can afford, you know what's realistic. Anything you see, you're just like, that's stupid. That is like, these people are idiots. You should fire whoever thought that this was a good product at this price point. Like, and I think a big one I see every year come out of SHOT Show is the optics companies. Like someone on the optics company is like, look at this new optic, and you're looking at it and they're going through its features, and you're like, so it's a Vortex. That's $3,000. And like, like it's just like, okay, why wouldn't I just get the Vortex 1-6 Strike Eagle for $400 if it's the same thing?
The other one too for me, which maybe it's totally applicable to something, but like tactical shotguns going way beyond like
are you about to dump?
Benelli's already out there.
Are you going to shit on my Beretta 1301 right now, dog? Because I'm about to get real violent.
No, but like there's some stuff out there. It's like 7Gs.
Oh,
like super crazy wild stuff. It's like, are you trying to look like Terminator, or are you trying to actually have something that's functional?
Sure.
Because of the like, listen, a shotgun, either one, you should shoot birds with it, so you put a really long barrel on it, and you make it, light and where it's very accurate. Or two, you get that thing as short as legally possible and get a lot of rounds in it, right? Like that's basically it. Like there's not like a lot, like compared to precision AR shooting.
Oh, sure.
What are you really going to do to a shotgun? Like how much more can you tack it out, right?
Yeah.
So, like you were saying, something like a Vortex sight you could get for $300 to $500, but with a great warranty. But no, now it's $3,000, or also like Terminator shotgun.
Yeah.
Well, did you see anything like that?
So, a couple things. One, I want to ask, like Mick, in your time of a good scope of the sheriff's department, is there a really good
I mean, there's a lot of great scopes out there.
Well, mainly in the realm of shotguns. Like, is there like a really big
shotgun?
space? Yeah.
I would. Okay, so I would say. I thought you said scopes at first.
In your scope.
Oh, in my scope of understanding.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, dude. Okay, so shotguns. I mean, the way I see it is like most departments still haven't switched over to a semi-auto shotgun. In fact, they removed most shotguns from cruisers. Mm-hmm. So really, the only time you're often going to see a shotgun in law enforcement stuff is when it's non-lethal beanbag. Mm-hmm. Or when they're like SWAT team breaching. And at that point,
yeah, that was my thought.
Breaching is like what you use to breach with a SWAT team is not a shotgun you use for personal defense. Like that shotgun is
pistol gripped and short.
And it's streamlined to shoot frangible rounds. Mm-hmm. And like those, yeah, sure. If you shoot someone in the head at close range, it's gonna kill them. But like,
no way.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah. But if you,
I'm not kidding.
Sarcastic. But if you shoot someone at like, 15 feet and they're like wearing a Carhartt, it's just gonna hurt. You know what I mean? But like, so all that said, like, I think the shotgun realm has actually moved out of law enforcement into like what's realistic for civilians.
I can imagine it was more of a breaching scene or like for breaching purposes than anything. In something to know that with SHOT Show that I've seen in a lot of other shows is there's like, I don't want to say invasion, but like invasion of a lot of like small Asian manufacturers that are like, this is our shot to make it like to come in here with something quote unquote new.
The red dot epidemic is huge right now.
Yeah, and it's not something new. It's actually a copy, but it's like these people managed to get a booth and they're there. That happens a lot. One thing that SHOT Show is like doing well is there's a wait list to get in and it's expensive, so that goes pretty well for them to kind of prevent that from happening. But
were you saying something about a shotgun you saw there, or when you asked him about law enforcement shotgun experience?
There was like a handful of companies, like foreign companies, that were making kind of like Benelli style. Like,
the Turkish Benelli clones.
Yes, that was exactly what the booth that was right next to was. It was a Turkish Benelli shotgun.
I don't know anyone I don't know of any agency that uses those.
Yeah, so they were really cheap, and I looked at it. I was like, might buy one, but I was like,
$69. All right,
it was like in like the $400 to $600 range, but
Benelli for $420. No, here's the biggest thing I've heard about the Turkish shotguns is like, how many rounds do you put through your shotgun in a year?
Yeah.
It's like, if you're not out there actually doing drills or practicing or doing some serious national pheasant hunting, like, going across the country to hunt birds, they'll be fine. But like the lifetime round count on those shotguns is about 500 rounds.
Yeah.
And then those shotguns are fried. But like, I don't know anyone that I've gone and shot with personally that I have seen come close to that many rounds.
Right.
Of a shot. Like even within a year of like, you know what I mean? Like, so like, I think a lot of people get those and they're totally fine. And they think they're totally fine. They're like, oh man, I've never had any issues. Like, well, because
never used
do you shoot 500 rounds within a within a noticeable time period for a shot, or are you just more likely to fire? Like, honestly, I would have wagered a majority of Americans fire about, if they own a shotgun, they fire it about 20 rounds through it a year.
Right.
You know what I mean?
My initial thought was like, keep in mind, I'm like 10 feet away from these people, so I'm staring at their guns most of the day, all week long. And I also, my primary like full size handgun at the range is a Canik, which is a Turkish
and there ain't nothing wrong with that, bro.
Right. People, so I'm like, Turkey?
Springfield don't want a minute. Springfield's gun, their handguns, all the XDs made in Croatia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say like,
wah. Yeah. I'll say this. I saw someone was showing at SHOT Show, they had their table out, showing their Browning high powers. I was like, oh, Christ. Like, that's not the gun that won World War II. I get there's like 1,000 people who buy one every year.
I want one.
Sure. I'm not going to say no to a free one, but am I going to spend $3,000 for the like tailored, clean, custom one.
Yeah.
Am I gonna carry it every day? No, I'm gonna show people. Be like, check it out.
I'm gonna pull it out of the drawer when the FBI come for me. Like,
here,
this is my gun. It's like
that's actually what I was gonna say. It's just like these old timey guns that have these like crazy
Fudd boys
engravings on the side, and I'm like, you're never gonna shoot this. Does anyone think it's cool?
Does High Point have a booth at SHOT Show? That's what I want to know. Are they still around?
Yeah. They just released the yeet cannon.
Is it what it's called?
Dude, they put it up to a poll to be named. And everyone like voted yeet cannon. And, everyone voted yeet cannon. And they're like, all right, boys, you thought we wouldn't? And they released the yeet cannon. It's got an optic cut. It's got a threaded barrel.
What?
Yeah. In case you want to put an oil can, because there ain't no way you're buying a suppressor to put on your eye.
Is it still a classic, like, round shape?
Bro,
just a High Point.
What do you want from me? You want me to like send you a screenshot?
No, I just
pull it up.
Okay.
The yeet cannon. Yeet yeet. That's what you say when you use it. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Oh my goodness.
All right, but Dean, dumbest thing you saw at SHOT Show. Dumbest thing.
Yeah, and this is probably primarily based on personal taste, but when I see a lot of these like old timey revolvers or rifles that have like these really intricate engravings on the side or wild just designs, I'm like, is anybody coming by to hold this or look at this that is under the age of 75? And maybe there is. I could be absolutely wrong, and I'm totally willing to admit that. But
someone out there is saying, "Hey,
yeah, I know.
I'm 75 and I have a lot of money to spend."
But they're not on YouTube.
Yeah, they're not listening to this.
So I just, for me, there are so. Maybe that is the taste that you acquire after you've bought so much, or you've funneled so much money into weaponry that you now have
this next level artistry.
Yeah, it's like an acquired taste after such long amounts of time. That's quite possible. But for me, when there's like 10 things on the list to buy before I even consider something like that to be attractive, I'm like, what the fuck is this doing here?
Yeah.
So that's to me, and those things are also wildly expensive too, and I think that's why that particular group of guys like those guns, is because they're expensive.
It's a statement.
It is a statement, and it's never going to get shot, and it's hanging on a wall in some glass.
Yeah.
Or in a case of some sort.
True. I will say this, and this is going to hurt some people's feelings, but I've never gone over to a homie's house and they're like, check out my brand AR-15. Like, tight. Does the same thing all of our other ones does, right? I've been to places where like someone's like, yeah, so this is my precision 2,000 yard sub MOA, like 6.5 Creedmoor, custom built. It's made by like 15 different brands. I assembled it and had a gunsmith work on it. I'm like, this is cool. This is cool. And they're like, yeah. It cost me about $3,000 for parts, about another $1,500 for labor, but retail wise, this would go for about $12,000. I'm like, this is super cool. Like this thing does what he's saying. Like it's gonna shoot smaller than a quarter grouping at 2,000 yards, tight. That's cool. Not if it's worth it to him for the money, that's awesome. But like so many people, like I can't tell you how many times been people that like, and they just got their safe queen, and it's just like a Daniel Defense DDM4. I'm like, tight, bro. Does it feel good spending that money on that? When you could have just built your own? I don't know. Not dissing on them for having it, but it's like one of those things of just like no one's impressed by that. And I think the boomer generation is the same thing of like, yeah, here's my like genuine I don't know, pick a brand, 1911 based off of the GI Commando. It was $2,000 and you're like
Right.
Please tell me it's a double stack. You're like, nope, single stack, 7 rounds. And you're like, oh God.
And it's like, was that a real one? Because then that's cool.
Was that? Did that kill Nazis?
Yeah.
No, it's a replica.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
My father-in-law's got some really sick M1s Grands that for his shizzle killed people. And like he's restored them because the stocks needed to be taken care of. But he's restored them, and he probably will never like try to sell them for like collector's value because so much of that stamping and lore is in the stocks, in the foregrip, right, in the frame. So like all that said though, he's got a lot of stamps on the receiver and stuff still, and he's like, I love these because I can tell where they went and when they went there. And
that's different though.
It is. That's different, right?
Different.
That's a.
There's a story behind the gun.
That's like having a piece of the moon.
There's history behind the gun.
Yeah, it's more artifact
but
type.
Like when homies are like, I dropped $15,000 on this AR-15. I'm like, that's cool that it like is heated so you can hold it longer when you're shooting coyotes, but
Mine never
does the
shot
same
that
thing.
gun.
Yeah, you've never gone on a coyote hunt with that. But anyways.
A lot of these, to me, a gun is supposed to be used and abused and used a lot and trained with. And this is just where I'm at in my gun journey. I can totally acknowledge that people are far beyond that, but
Pat is sweating over here, just like.
It's like, for me, I'm still at the point where everything that I buy gets used and abused.
Yeah. Dude, I get upset if it doesn't come with what's the term for if it comes from the factory with some like scratches on it?
Yeah, like a scratch and dent sale.
Yeah. I get pissed if it comes in and it looks all perfect. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna know it's fresh.
Yeah.
Like I want
You just pull out your knife.
All of my stuff looks like it got dropped in the sand. Because I do. I literally will do like drop in like just test quality or like drills with like, oh, what if I got sideswiped and my gun literally is like on the ground? How quickly can I get to that gun and put it into operation?
Yep. For me, it's like I'm in both camps, but
I feel like you're coming to the collector camp. I feel like you're on the cusp of getting there in your life.
Because but what I'm saying on both camps would be this: there's guns for utility, range, training, all that stuff, and then there's also guns where you're just like, yeah, this was from World War II. It's super cool.
Yeah.
Right? The in between stuff, not so cool.
I mean, it can be,
and it can be cool, but like
if it makes sense to buy,
if you're spending astronomical prices for it, it should either be like the best functioning utility thing you've ever had, or it should hold like really cool sentimental and or historical value.
Yeah.
Right. So that that's what I'm saying. Like I can appreciate both sides of it. And so it's like if someone pulls, Colt 45, 1911 out of their case, and it's like, this was my granddad's. We're like, okay, that's one of the coolest.
I have way more respect for that.
That's but you're like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen, right?
Very similarly.
Can I touch it? And then on the other side, you're like, the guys with this Caltech, he's like, I've sent like 80,000 rounds through this thing. Not that it could handle that, but they're like, I use it, I train with it every day, and it's for using, right? And
I definitely killed a man with this Celtic, threw it in the East River, went back a year later, pulled it out, killed another man, and I just repeat. I just repeat once a year now, and it's like, it still works.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
I can appreciate that too. Like, for example, I have my grandpa was a World War II vet. He was in the LAPD for like 30 years.
Oh, badass.
And he lived with us for probably 10 years before he passed. But I still have his old Springfield 1911 45.
That's cool. How much right now? Give me a number.
Yeah, I've shot it a handful of times actually, because when I pulled it out of the case, it had probably been shot a couple times, but it was very, very clean. Yeah. And I was like, dude, my grandpa started a lot of gun clubs, and he loved just ripping rounds through these guns. I was like, I'm gonna go shoot this.
Yeah.
But that's like, I'm like, am I gonna carry this gun? No. But am I
In the
gonna enjoy
apocalypse?
it?
In the apocalypse? Hell yeah.
Is it, dude?
Carve into it, pops.
The mags coming out of this thing feel like sandpaper.
Yeah.
But is it awesome?
It holds
yeah, it is
3.5 rounds. Yeah, it's super cool.
It's so much fun. But it's like, yeah, to me, it's like, it's my grandpa's gun. Like I enjoy having this thing. But
Respect. And then somewhere in between all of that is AR-15s with wood furniture. And I'm still not sure.
We're still trying to figure that out.
I'm still trying to feel if I want that or not.
No.
Shh, you shut up. You haven't seen it.
I don't want it.
You haven't seen it. You don't know what you're missing.
Oh my god. That's hilarious.
Anyways, I guess to wrap this up, I've really been wanting to wrap this. I've been looking forward all week to doing this. And Pat, you'll just have to, when we post this on YouTube, give them a clip of this so that way they can see the beautiful video that it is. But Dean, a good old buddy of ours, sent this to me, Dukas.
Okay.
And I'm going to play it for you all here. And I'll turn the laptop around so you guys can see.
Sexual content warning on this before you guys listen to this.
I hope you find it as funny as I did. I was on the toilet pooping when I opened this up.
Make sure you...
And I emptied my bowels in a split second laughing so hard.
Hey Alexa, I want you to f***ing fart for me.
I think you just whispered to me. From now on, when you whisper, I will whisper back.
Oh, you're
You
a
can
dirty
always
bitch.
turn
Oh
off
my
whisper
god.
mode.
Oh my god, Alexa,
I'd rather.
fart for me.
Okay,
So bad.
here's big fart.
Oh shit. Oh,
That was a deep one.
oh yeah.
Shall I play another fart sound?
Yeah, give me another one. Come on.
It's like she shit her pants, dude. You like broke character. Anyways,
That's what
kid.
I texted you. I texted you. He broke character into that one.
Thanks for joining us, kid. Dean, thanks for joining us again.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time.
Thanks for tuning in. If you love this episode, drop us a review. If you have qualms or comments, leave us a voicemail on our website. While you're there, check out our latest news, merch, and deals from our sponsors. Till next time, Ken.